my name is Brittany Hickman, and I'm here to give a speech on alternative farming methods. Imagine a world with no usable topsoil, no way to plant crops as we know today on a normal farm. What are we to do? We can use a system called hydroponics to grow our crops. Hydroponics is more than just another way to grow plants. This technology has the potential to change how we engage in food cultivation as a whole. For the first time since humans started tilling the land, modern hydroponic technology frees us from the soil beneath our feet, allowing us to bring food production indoors where we can layer in additional climate and lighting controls. The most successful hydroponic farms house their vertical growing plants in greenhouses or shipping containers. The plants obtain all their nutrients from water and their energy from powerful LED lights. With plants safe from pests and elements, the hydroponic system allows you to grow and harvest consistently as they grow as much as 25% faster than they would if you plant them in the soil. When using a hydroponic system, you can use regular fertilizer like you do on a normal farm, but as long as it dissolves all the way. But it only works if it has the full range of nutrients that the plants need in order to survive. So the plants need a balance of elements: nitrogen, copper, calcium, and zinc. Many of the fertilizers only have some of these nutrients, but since you are planting your crops in only a water base and not in soil, your crops need to have all the nutrients possible. So sometimes by even just adding Epsom salt into it, it may be enough to satisfy the nutritional needs that the plants need. And in deep water cultivation system, it is best for compact plants such as lettuce, spinach, kale, and mint. The ebb and flow system is for larger plants such as tomatoes, cucumbers, and eggplants. The downsides to a hydroponic system is that the power control systems cost a lot of money to set up and to begin with. So some of the things that you need are pumps, water purifiers, lights, heaters, etc., stuff like that. And all that, to be able to even start working on the farm, to even begin the plant crops to grow, you have to have those. So in conventional farming, the heat, light, and some water is already provided naturally, so it's free. And a hydroponic system is also vulnerable to power failures. So if the power goes out during a lightning storm or a snowstorm or whatever goes on in that area, then the farm has to be managed manually. It can no longer be done mechanically. And if the roots are exposed, and if there's no water keeping the plants hydrated, then the plants will dry out automatically and die right away. And then also with the systems, there's nutrient and pH imbalances that build up quicker than they do in soil. So if something goes wrong, an entire crop can be wiped out rapidly. An upside to hydroponic farming is that it requires less effort, so therefore it's less labor intensive. And it cannot be left alone for too long like regular farms. If it is regularly attended by it has to be regularly attended by a farmer, like I mentioned before, or it can be automated, but the farmer has to keep checking to make sure systems are running efficiently. For some farmers, the good outweigh the bad. So the reason why for most farmers it is this way is because the plants are able to develop faster because they're able to use nutrient solutions, artificial lights, heaters, and other things that they can control. And because they're able to use all these other things that they control, the hydroponic system is able to produce larger yields and are able to grow all year round. These technological advances that have been made to help crops grow more efficiently will be extremely useful when the predicted 9 billion people populate the earth by the year 2050. The increase in population has coined the term feeding the nine. Using a hydroponic system, the water is also recycled. So the hydroponic system only uses about 10% of the water as a normal farm does. In a closed system, no nutrients are lost, so only 25% of the fertilizer in a hydroponic farm is used that of a normal farm. So since there's no soil pests are non-existent, so there's no need to have to worry about any pests that are killing the plants in that area. And then in enclosed areas, greenhouses or shipping containers, natural predators can be used to control the insects in there. So since it's an enclosed and they can use the predators, there's next to no pesticides being used on the crops being developed. A hydroponic system also has high water efficiency. Like I had mentioned before, it only uses 10% water as it does on a normal farm. Because of this, it makes farming possible in dry environments. And so if you live in the desert or there's no usable topsoil, then it makes it possible to grow crops in other areas where crops cannot be grown. So by using vertical growing, it allows plants to be closer than in the soil. So it makes it much more spacious, therefore there's more plants being able to be grown in an area. Nearly all environmental conditions can be controlled, and in uncontrollable growing spaces can be used. So in a desert where normally no plants are able to grow besides the plants that inhabit that area that are used to those conditions, with the use of a hydroponic system, you can now cultivate that area to where you can start growing crops there. And because of this, farmers do not need to worry about exhausting their fields of certain nutrients through growing the same crop over and over, so therefore there's no more crop rotation is needed. And then if you need protein in your diet, so another option instead of hydroponics is with aquaculture. Aquaculture is another way to expand and use different ways to produce our food. Aquaculture is the breeding, rearing, and harvesting of fish, shellfish, plants, algae, and other organisms in a marine or freshwater environment. Aquaculture has expanded 14-fold since 1980. In 2012, the global output of fish reached more than 70 million tons, far exceeding the beef production. So because of the population growth, income growth, and seafood's heart-healthy reputations are expected to drive up demand by 35% or more in just the next 20 years. With the growth of global catch of wild fish at a standstill, experts say virtually all of that new seafood will have to be farmed. Technology has become more efficient, so it's able to produce more food than by just fishing. So since technology made this possible to grow food in the coastal marine water, technology has made it possible to grow food in the coastal marine waters, the open oceans, and land-based farms. During the 1980s, large paths of tropical mangroves were bulldozed to build farms that now produce a sizable portion of the world's shrimp. An advantage of aquaculture is that the fish require less food than land animals. So fish need fewer calories because they're cold-blooded and because living in a buoyant environment, they don't have to fight gravity much, so that therefore they don't burn as many calories as animals do on land. In the United States, marine aquaculture produces numerous species including oysters, clams, mussels, shrimps, seaweed, and fish such as salmon, black sea bass, and yellowtail. There are many ways to farm marine shellfish, including seeding small shellfish on the seafloor or by growing them in sinking or floating cages. Marine fish farming is typically done in net pens in water or in tanks on land. The United States freshwater aquaculture produces species such as catfish and trout. Freshwater aquaculture primarily takes place in ponds or other man-made systems. With the world's population nearly 8 billion and struggling to find space to grow or raise the food, the hydroponic and aquaculture systems are one way to become more productive. We need to start putting more energy into hydroponics and aquaculture so our future generations will have a way to produce their food in a clean, environmentally way.